Welcome to Crones and Coffee with Lori and Kate, a podcast about spirituality. Real, raw, and authentic, and lots of laughs. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning, Lori.
How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Freaking freezing today.
It's getting cold.
What the crap?
Got layers on. I got my wool blankets out. Got the wood stove. We're getting our wood firewood.
I got my slippers on today.
It's cozy season.
And our coffee.
Our coffee. Our hot, warm coffee. It's pumpkin spice season.
Yay.
Apple orchards.
So speaking of pumpkin spice season, when is this coming out? This podcast? Is it before your...
You already did Sanctuary, so...
Yeah, so probably next Sunday this will be released. Yeah. So is it before your Bazaar event?
I think so, yep. One more weekend. Bazaars featuring a bunch of local spooky people during the Haunting of Wilton on October 26th. So it's a downtown event in Wilton with trick-or-treating, live music, spooky creepies everywhere. Company of Witches is performing, and then I'm hosting what I call a Bazaar from my studio. Features
October 26th.
Yep, it features New Hampshire paranormal group. You can meet and greet them. I got a couple tarot, oracle, and charm readers. I got giveaways, lots of candy.
Nice.
Shop will be open extended hours from noon to 8 p.m. October 26th, Bazaar. You'll find out everything about it on Facebook and my website, prayersofnature.com.
Nice. And on the same day, I have an event happening too, Samhain. We're going to learn about Samhain and then create a beautiful jar spell that you can take home and honor the ancestors from 1 to 3. So you can go pop over to Kate's place and then come have some coffee and tea.
It's a great time. You can come to my place in the morning, come do the spell kit jar, or you can do the spell workshop and then pop by after.
Yep. And November 2nd, I have my open house.
Yes.
Mystic Market will be 1 year old. So from
running my calendar through my head. I want to be there for that. I really do. I hope I can be.
November 2nd from 12 to 4. We also have New Hampshire Paranormal Group here, and Kahina, the medium shaman, will be here doing readings. So if anyone wants that, I believe, don't quote me, all the details are on the website, but I believe it's $20 for 15 minutes or 10 minutes. I can't remember. But it's on the website, mysticmarketnh.com.
What time does that start?
12 o'clock.
Okay.
So from 12 to 4, we will be here. And then at 5 o'clock, we have Together We Heal, and we will be doing a 1 hour long crystal bowl healing, which is always a beautiful event and sells out. So get your tickets. We offer special discounts for seniors and military. So go check it out, mysticmarketnh.com. Open house is free. So today, let's welcome everyone to Crones and Coffee, where we will explore the many layers of spirituality, personal growth, and the hidden truths in the metaphysical world. We're your hosts, Lori and
Kate.
And today we're diving into a very important and sometimes uncomfortable topic called spiritual manipulation. Specifically, how some people use spirituality as a tool to deceive, manipulate, and con others. So this episode we're dedicating to helping you recognize the warning signs, to trust your intuition, and protect yourself from those who use spiritual practices for their own gain.
Both work.
I guess both work, right? But before we dive in, let's be clear. So spirituality in its truest form is empowering, liberating, and deeply personal. So unfortunately, like any field where trust and vulnerability are involved, there are people who will take advantage of that. So let's talk about how to spot the red flags and to keep yourself safe on your spiritual journey. So let's first understand why spiritual manipulation happens. Spirituality is about connecting with something larger than ourselves, whether that's the universe, the divine energy, nature, or your own inner power. This connection makes us open, vulnerable, and eager for guidance. Most of us seek spiritual teachers, healers, or guides who can help us along the way. But this vulnerability can sometimes be exploited. So, people who use spirituality to con or manipulate often present themselves as enlightened or all-knowing or possessing some kind of special power or secret knowledge. They may appear to be offering you the answers to life's biggest questions, healing or unlocking powers you didn't even know you had. The problem? Their goal isn't to help you grow at all. Their goal is to control you, either for money, power, or some other
Some people just
selfish reason.
Yeah, some people just like to manipulate others.
So let's be real. So just like any other industry, there are bad actors in the spiritual world. The key is to be aware, to protect yourself, and to keep your own power intact. So, since opening my doors, I have encountered a few of those. We're not going to mention names or anything like that, but I have encountered a few people that tried to manipulate me. And if I'm being honest with myself, I am a people pleaser. And I like to heal people. That's why I opened this place. I want people to be happy and joyful and not be miserable. And I learned some lessons early on when opening my door that all the red flags were there, and I pushed them down because I was trying to practice what I preach. But in that, I learned practicing what I preach is also learning to listen to your red flag intuition.
Well, sometimes it makes you vulnerable.
Yes. So let's talk about red flags and how you can spot them. If you're encountering a spiritual teacher, a healer, or guide, whether online or in person, if you notice any of these signs, it's time to step back and reassess the situation. So the first one is they claim to have all the answers. So if someone tells you they alone have the truth and they are the only one who can help you, that's a huge red flag. Huge. True spiritual guides encourage self-discovery and support your journey. They don't demand you follow their version of the truth. And I have seen that firsthand. I have seen that. And I think when you encounter that, the best thing you can do is probably immediately set up a boundary. Because when we encounter people like this, we don't have to be rude to get them to not be in our life anymore. Sometimes it may have to come to that.
Right, yeah.
But I don't think right out of the gate you have to be rude.
If you're not in a vulnerable state and you're able to express that, you won't be, like, if they can't manipulate you easily, they're going to lose interest, unfortunately move on to someone else. Yeah. But if you are in a vulnerable, because so my mind, when I hear this, my mind goes instantly to, and no offense, this is not meant to offend anybody, but my mind instantly goes to cults.
Yes.
Instantly. Yes. And when
that's what it is. It's manipulation.
Right. And not all cults are the same. Everybody's got their different kind of wants and needs and how you get sucked into a cult. But everybody thinks that they wouldn't be vulnerable to it. But in fact, you would be. You could be. There are moments in our lives where we're vulnerable to things. Because to hear what we want to hear.
Right.
Usually they love bomb you, right? Or there's some kind of trauma bonding. That's a big one for me. So I'm not going to name this group. I don't even remember their name, to be honest, but I live in an area that's next to a town that has a lot of communities within it that are very spiritual and like old school, like faith-based communities, and some of them are a little extreme. And this guy was coming around, and I don't even know if I should say what the practice is. It was like a form of baptism.
Yeah.
But he was doing it in trash cans. He would bring huge. I know it sounds crazy. He would get the communities together, and they would get like these huge street trash cans, fill them with water, and like baptize people. And
couldn't find something better than a trash can.
there's like this weird. I was reading more about it and like learning more about it, and I'm like, is this trauma bonding? Now I've experienced PTSD from violence,
Yeah.
and when you become bonded with that experience. So with some of these spiritual, and it's not a bad thing, right? Like we know some people who do programs where you're confronting uncomfortable moments, you know, facilitating uncomfortable moments.
Yeah.
Because what that does is it opens you up to vulnerabilities.
Oh.
And a lot of these cults will do some form of trauma bonding in a way that they make you believe in that moment that they are the answer.
Yeah.
You want to go to somebody who facilitates these, who will tell you to seek inward and go inward in your own journey. They're not going to be the ones to manipulate you when you're in that state, but they'll get you to that state. So that's those are practices I love, rituals I love, or these vulnerable rituals. But you have to make sure that you trust the people and the communities that you're participating in, because the ones that I saw happening in the towns next to me was. It's like they started wheeling out trash cans. And like, I'm like, like this seems a little desperate. What are we doing here? Because I think when you're dunking people in water and like making them not be able to breathe and pulling them out, and like I'm just like, I didn't like it. There's just weird vibes going on there.
I mean, I would feel like that would be like a lake thing. Like go to a lake, something in nature, not like the trash can.
It was weird. It was weird. If anybody local knows what I'm talking about.
Even a pool would have been better.
I think people who live locally that may be listening, they may actually know it. It's happened like about 4 years ago. There was a community that came, and they were doing it during the lockdowns as well.
Oh.
So a lot of people got upset about that as well.
But I think a lot of people too were experiencing things that they wouldn't normally experience during the lockdown because they were seeking some fulfillment, I guess. So,
but like you were saying, someone who guides you to follow your own path is more likely somebody you should trust than somebody who, like you're saying, is I have all the answers, let's do this weird ritual put you in a vulnerable state.
Self-discovery.
Yeah.
That's when I do coaching here. I do wellness coaching. People ask me questions and then I answer with a question and make them answer, because it is about leading them to provide their own answers. Like I'm not going to give you the answer because I'm giving you the answer based on my experience.
It can be subjective, right? Is that the right word? Sometimes it can be subjective.
Well, because I'm giving you a perspective of my experience.
Correct.
Not your own.
Right.
So I will counter their question with a question, and then they have to sit there and think. But that's the whole point of self-discovery, right? So the second red flag is they pressure you into financial commitments.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. The second there's like a pyramid scheme or tiered levels of enlightenment depending on how much you pay.
Right.
It's insane.
So I'll help you get to the next level if you give me another $1,000 or something.
And some of these programs they have a word for it. It's like, what's the word? There's certain words that they use to make it sound very spiritual, but it's pretty much a pyramid scheme.
So it absolutely is. So beware of spiritual leaders who constantly pressure you to buy expensive products, attend costly workshops, or pay for ongoing services that feel like a never-ending funnel of spending. Spirituality isn't about draining your wallet. Be cautious of anyone promising enlightenment or healing at an outrageous price. Ask yourself, are you paying for genuine growth or are you being exploited? So, obviously, I help people heal. I have to charge something because I have rent to pay. I have lights to keep on. I have heat. Yeah.
Right, that's what I mean. Like some of these programs have you need donations.
Yeah.
But like when they're pitched with certain tiers and levels that you have to hit, that's when it becomes a little exploitive to me.
And I have very reasonable pricing. I have hour-long sessions, half-hour sessions, and I have a package of 5.
Yeah, but people aren't signing their assets to you.
No.
That's what some of them do. They're like, sign your assets to us and we'll take care of you.
So but I have been accused of not being a healer because I charge money. So I don't know. My landlord doesn't know anything about energy exchanges, so I can't.
Right.
I can't not charge, or there will be no mystic markets,
Right.
or a place of gathering.
Right.
It's just how the world runs, unfortunately. Like I'm like a dentist. You wouldn't go to the dentist and expect to not pay,
Be
right?
nice. Be nice.
And you always go back to the dentist, and I feel like that's kind of like, you don't have to constantly come here.
Right. Right.
But I offer sessions for as little as $10.
Well, you're like, I think of you as also as like a facilitator. You create a space. You're not creating a space to dictate. You're creating a space for self-exploration, which like you said, requires maintenance and fees. That's not like an exploitive.
Right.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of someone trying to manipulate you into thinking you're not doing things for the community, where they're like gaslighting you, and really they're the ones projecting onto you.
Right.
I have just as having the shop that I have, I follow a lot of readers and metaphysical people on Instagram and Facebook, and every once in a while I don't realize it, but I follow someone who's like a, quote, let's just say tarot reader, and I'll just follow them, because they followed me. And the second I follow them, I get a message in my inbox.
Oh yeah, I've had that too.
And they're like, "Oh, I was called to do a reading for you." I'm like, "Oh, it had nothing to do with me following you." Like all of a sudden now you want to talk, and they try to like get you with you obviously are looking or seeking for some, and it's like,
that's a scam right away.
So frustrating.
When anyone messages you and says, "I've been called to talk to you,"
something like that, right?
It's horseshit.
Yeah. No, this is Instagram. You didn't even know I existed. Heck, I could be a bot, I could be a bot, and you're trying to give me a tarot reading.
So the red flag number 3, they use fear to control you.
Yeah.
One of the most manipulative tactics is using fear to control. If a spiritual teacher or guide makes you feel like something bad will happen if you don't follow their guidance or instructions, this is a form of coercion. Plain and simple. Real spirituality empowers you. It doesn't make you feel scared, and it doesn't make you feel dependent on someone else for protection. So red flag number 4, they discourage independent thinking. A genuine spiritual guide will encourage you to think for yourself and trust your own intuition. If someone discourages you from seeking other opinions, exploring different paths, or questioning their teachings, it's a clear sign of manipulation. No one owns your spiritual journey.
Oh.
You own it.
This is like bringing up so much for me. I didn't know it would.
Oh. And I actually, if you follow me online, people all the time are commenting on my social media platforms, like if I post a spell ritual or something.
Oh, they want to tell you how it's wrong or something?
Well, no. Well, yes, but but no, what I was going to say is they'll ask, can I do this instead?
Yeah.
And I say, I don't know, can you? Stop asking permission.
Right.
Get your hands dirty. I promise you're not going to upset the gods.
I tell you what got me so excited about paganism and witchcraft, all that, what I really enjoyed about it was the independent nature of it. And like, if you didn't have this, you could, don't freak out. You can use 4 other things that you
But
might
I
have.
think people fear like they're going to blow up or they're going to curse themselves. You won't. If your intention is good, you're fine.
It's usually people new to it. It's like
but that's how you learn. That's how you grow. Get your hands dirty. Stop asking permission.
And find what speaks to you.
Yeah.
I'm drawn to certain things now on my altar. I'm like, okay, there's always this, that, and this. And then everything else is kind of like, is interchangeable. And like I learn over time, I'm like, oh, I'm really drawn to the black tourmaline for protection. I'm just going to keep using that. That's my go-to. Some people are drawn to other things. For some reason, that's the one that brings me. Rose quartz is a big one for me.
Angel aura for me.
Yeah.
It's
so
one of my favorites.
And people go, how do you know? It's like you just
know.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
What do you like? It's okay if you just simply like it.
Right.
It's okay if it looks pretty to you. If you like how it feels in your hand. No one's going to tell you, oh, you need,
Well, someone will tell you.
Well, someone. Well, what's
The
good for this,
online
what's good for that.
gatekeepers.
But like, so for example, I had a woman in my shop. She had never been in my shop last week. She came in and she was absolutely enamored with what is called a Shiva Lingam.
Yes, I have a couple of those.
Yeah, and she just kept looking at them. She was like, man, I'm just really like into this, and I don't know why. She's like, I came here for something else, but then, and I'm like,
Goddess Shiva is calling.
maybe you should take one home with you.
Yeah.
So where you can just touch them, that's fine too. You can leave them here if you don't want the commitment.
What was I gonna say?
Sorry.
No, I had something good to say and I lost it.
Get your hands dirty. Do it yourself.
Yeah, so that's right. So if I post a spell, it's just a guide.
Right.
Like, feel free to add, take away, whatever makes it your own. And again, I'm going to reiterate, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, because that's how you learn. That's how you grow spiritually. What works for me might not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you try it and you didn't feel like it resonated with you, don't do it.
Right. It doesn't mean you're flawed. It doesn't mean
exactly.
It just means something else. Like
exactly.
There's some rituals I'm drawn to, and then there's other ones I don't really care for. Right. I have like an alternative thing for whatever.
Yeah. And the only thing I can give advice on as far as like if you're switching things out. So say you're doing a love spell, right? You're not gonna put something in there for banishment unless you're getting rid of love. So try to at least equal the energy. So if you're switching out rose quartz,
right.
Get another
pink tourmaline.
Right. Get something that's the energy is the same, but you're more drawn to. What are we on? Number 5?
How many are there?
A lot.
Holy red flags.
Yeah, red flag. We should tag the red flag guy on TikTok. Have you ever seen him?
No.
He stitches people's relationship videos that they put, and he runs around with a big red flag.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen green flag people.
He's also green flag.
Yeah, okay,
guy.
I've seen that.
He started as red flag guy.
I like green flag guys. I like those.
God,
I think those are fun.
So I think we're on number 5. Hopefully. They make you feel small or inferior. In healthy spiritual communities, you should feel uplifted, inspired, and equal. And with that, I had met someone, and she joined the coven, and she started to call me High Priestess. And I said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, isn't that what they call the coven leader? I'm like, not in my coven.
Right.
I said, High Priestess, it gives a hierarchy feel. I don't want that. Every single one of us is equal in the coven that I lead. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm the creator of it and I am technically the leader of it, or the facilitator, I don't see myself as above anyone else because I'm still learning too. Mm-hmm. So I want to create that environment that we are all equal. And to me, maybe it's something deeper in myself I have to explore too, but when I hear that High Priestess, my eye twitches. I start to cringe. Like, it doesn't sit well with my spirit. So I don't use that term. I'm just Lori, or my magical name is Silver Bear.
Oh.
So, which I just posted a blog about how you too can find your own
that's cool.
witchy name, magical name. But anywho, if someone constantly makes you feel like you aren't good enough or that you need their approval to be spiritual worthy, they are manipulating your self-worth. No spiritual guide should make you feel small. They should help you realize your own power.
What about people who aren't spiritual guides that do this anyway? Because that's kind of what I'm experiencing I have a community I'm a part of, and so basically the reason why I'm like, this is resonating with me a little bit is because a member of the community I'm in did awful things to other people and is currently in prison. I'm not going to go into the details of the crime, but they're horrendous. And there's someone that represents this person that comes to our meetings. They aren't a member of our community. They represent a member of our community in jail. Okay, they're their power of attorney. And they're trying to manipulate other members into looking inward and to seek their own salvation by way of forgiving this guy and letting him come back. Saying things like, look to your own sins first. If like this whole forgiveness thing, like if you can't forgive him, then you can't forgive yourself and you're doomed to hell. is basically what she's saying to us. And of course, I'm in this meeting, and I'm like, back up. Like, I wasn't even here when that crime was committed. Want me to bear? I said, I'm not here to bear his cross. I have my own sins that I have reckoned with in my own spiritual way, and now you want me to bear his sins too? And this isn't a spiritual. Well, this power of attorney, is a spiritual member of the community in the town next door in a church. So she has like this piety about her, like she's going to preach to our community about forgiveness. And it really got under my skin. I'm like, nobody here committed this crime. We are not to call us out for our own sins. Like, who are you?
Right.
Who are you?
Are you casting the stone without sin yourself?
I don't understand though where she's coming from when she thinks she can come into a community that she's not even a part of and preach to us about somebody that did something so awful, and why we wouldn't want. I said we forgive him. We don't want him coming back.
Yeah.
We can do both.
Yes.
And that's what I told my community. I said, great news, guys. You can forgive him. You can even support him when he gets out. He's not allowed to come back here because he's hurt so many people, and then we're going to put new members at risk. And it's our responsibility as a community to protect others. Right. So to have this outside, quote, spiritual person come in to guide us to take this person back, I just looked her in the face. I said, why don't you take him?
Right.
Oh, all of a sudden now. Yeah. Okay. So.
And what is that called? Virtue signaling.
It's upsetting because I could see these people in my community, very kind people that were easily manipulated by this person, into being guilted into allowing him to be a member of our community after what he had done to people.
And don't you feel like too? I'm going to use the recent hurricane that just happened.
Yeah.
Right. I'm following it because my dad lives in Florida. He's safe, thankfully. Good. A lot of rain, some down branches, but he's safe at this point. But everyone online, of course, is following it, and they're like, "Oh, you people, why didn't you? It's
not easy.
Leave." And
everybody wonders, but it's not easy.
It's like, okay, so what? You're supposed to pack your car up and then sit in your car for 4 hours because the traffic is horrendous. Nobody can see.
Good luck. Yeah.
It's like
It's
elderly people that live alone.
Right.
That maybe need assistance, but don't have anyone near. Like, what are they supposed to do?
Their oxygen machines.
But instead, you've got these virtue signaling keyboard warriors. It's like, why don't you shut your mouth and go fly down there and help people then?
Right. Yes.
But you're sitting here behind your safe keyboard.
Yes.
Spewing about what people should and shouldn't do.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. When she sat in that meeting, she was in my crosshairs. I made her very uncomfortable.
Sometimes, sometimes that has to happen. But so remember, real spiritual growth comes from within, and a good teacher will help you realize your own potential, not make you dependent on theirs. So let's talk about how do you protect yourself from these spiritual manipulators? The most powerful tool you have, and this was my lesson learned this year, trust your own intuition. And man, when I had these people come into my life, my red flags were freaking out. But I ignored them. So that was the lesson that I needed to learn, and why I had to go through what I had to go through.
Yeah.
But your intuition is your inner compass, and it's there to guide you, especially when something feels off. If you ever feel uneasy about someone's intentions, pay attention to that feeling. I cannot stress that enough. Sometimes your gut instinct will pick up on something before your mind can make sense of it. Trust it. And I didn't trust mine, and that's a big regret, because I always have told people, trust your intuition. It's there for a reason. Trust your gut. When you get that hairs on the back of your neck feeling, trust it. Your body can sense things your mind will not pick up immediately. But I feel like I had to go through the things I went through this year to relearn to trust that, and I will never doubt my intuition again. So here's a few tips to sharpen your intuition. Practice self-reflection. Take time to meditate or to journal about your experiences with spiritual teachers or communities. Ask yourself how they make you feel. Are you growing, or are you feeling restricted? Set clear boundaries. Know your limits. It's okay to say no. A lot of people have a hard time saying that. And no is a complete sentence. No, you don't have to explain yourself. No. Period. It's okay to say no, to step back, or to leave a spiritual community if it no longer feels right to you. Your boundaries are sacred, so treat them that way. Do your research. Before committing to any spiritual teacher, healer, or community, do some research. Read reviews. Ask others if they've had experience with you. Trust your critical thinking. If something feels like a red flag, it probably is. Empower yourself. Ultimately, spirituality should be an empowering experience. It should make you feel more connected to yourself, connected to your inner wisdom, and the world around you. If you ever feel like someone is taking that power away from you, it's time to step away. Don't let anyone tell you that you aren't doing it right. I see it all the time on the internet. Or that your way is wrong. Spirituality is personal. Cannot stress that enough either. It is a personal journey. There's no one-size-fits-all path. And you don't need anyone's permission to explore it in a way that resonates with you. Again, I post tons of stuff online about rituals and spell crafting. Those are guides. Take what resonates, leave behind what doesn't. Again, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and explore what feels right to you. Don't be afraid to experiment with different practices, with different teachers, with different philosophies. Spirituality is about discovery, finding what works for you and not following someone else's rigid path. As long as you're being respectful and mindful, there's no wrong way to seek your truth. Dun, dun, dun. Should I put some dramatic music?
Truth bomb.
Your spiritual journey is yours and yours alone, period. Protect it, honor it, and trust that you have everything within you to find your own path. Stay aware, stay grounded, and never hand over your power to someone else who claims to know more about your journey than you.
You know, one I want to touch on too is isolation. I've seen a lot of, so there's a lot of spiritual communities and guiders and leaders and all that do this, but I've seen influencers do this, and I'm not going to name influencers because everybody has their favorites and I don't want to get people butthurt, but there's quite a few that stand out to me that encourage you to just not talk to your family.
Those are cult things.
If they don't agree with your way of thinking, how you want to live your life, just cut them out. And I understand the concept of toxicity and people who may negatively influence your mental health and how you should set boundaries, of course. But I think it's a dangerous territory to, as someone who has, quote, influence on others, to outrageously suggest that because someone may disagree with your way of life or the spiritual path you're taking, that you should just ignore them and cut them out of your life. I think we could all learn from each other. Maybe there are things that look destructive that they can tell and see what's going on that you can't because you become clouded with your own idea of what spirituality is or how you want to live. That's what makes it so scary, right? Is because we all want to have the freedom to be ourselves without people telling us what to do. And like, if we come from broken families and unsupported families, we certainly want to go to communities that can support us, but to completely cut the ties and completely, and I'm talking about like, that is mostly a cult thing. You know, like there's several we can name that we know about that isolate their members and tell them they're dirtying their path to enlightenment if they include them. And I've seen a lot of families suffer because of it, and like good people, people are like, we support them in their spirituality. We don't understand why we can't communicate with them, why we can't talk to them, why I can't just check in on them.
Kind of brainwashed.
Because they're being that usually means you're being brainwashed. And you're going to find that those people who are convincing you that you need to just be left alone and that they're your new family, they'll leave you in a heartbeat. Don't forget the bloodlines. Don't forget the people that did see you as a young child grow up and may know you better to some extent. Now, I do say that because I recognize, like I said, once again, family can be toxic and like abusive, and you don't want to.
I think the people that fall into that are maybe those that come from broken homes.
Yeah.
So they're seeking acceptance.
I've seen some decent families though get separated as well. It can be a very powerful thing. That's what I mean. Like there's legitimacy to it. But there's also really healthy, like normal families that are like, why can't I talk to my daughter anymore? And it's because she's a part of some cult that's convinced her that they don't love her like they do, that they're going to distract her from her path.
Fall into that because I guess I view myself as like having a strong brain.
It takes time.
Yeah.
No, I think it wears on you. You get love bombed. You get sucked in.
Yeah.
Or they can seek some vulnerability in you. They get.
I guess that's what they play on is they find people that are vulnerable and are looking for acceptance.
Usually people seeking something, find these places. So I've seen a lot of one cult I'll talk about. I mean, there's a documentary on it. It's very public. Everybody knows about the Rajneesh cult. I'm actually a very big fan of a lot of their practices. I teach Kundalini yoga. I love it. But they also would, if you see the documentary, it's called Wild Wild Country on Netflix. It's very interesting to see how a concept of a good idea can go
south
bonkers. And like I said, a lot of their teachings are rooted in some beautiful things. So you can easily be tricked into thinking you're part of something great. They took a valley in Oregon that was desolate and like dry as a bone, and they worked in the agriculture and created this beautiful paradise of a valley. And then they got all these people in, and then they went to the cities and bust in all the homeless people.
Yeah.
And convinced these homeless people that they need to be a part of their cult. And now they got these people involved in politics in the town. It's an insane documentary. Yeah. You have to see it. It's called Wild Wild Country. It's one of the cult documentaries I watched that I actually quote thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
But like I said, a lot of their teachings are based in great things as well. So you can't. It's like you can't always take it at face value. You got to question. Yeah. You got to make sure people's intentions are correct, because absolute power will corrupt.
Yeah.
So don't isolate yourself to the point where it's just you and this community. I know some friends who do silent retreats. They go and they're quiet for days.
Yeah.
But guess what? They come home.
Yeah.
They come home and they share their experience with people and invite them to join them. And like, they don't isolate them. They're like, okay, well, in this space, you're not going to talk to people. We're going to be silent retreat. But they're not like telling them they can't talk to their families once it's done.
Right, of course.
But if you get in that silent retreat and a cult wants to get you in this vulnerable state, they could easily convince you to be like, why don't you just stay? Yeah. Tell your family that you're doing much better now here with us, and you don't want to see them. And that's when it starts.
Because if you go back to them, your enlightenment will disappear.
Right.
Or something.
You get it. Yeah. So you walk in with the best of intentions. They sound great. Next thing you know, you're in some weird rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So.
And some of them can be, they can turn physical.
Oh yeah.
So they can start torturing you, physically to which we talked about instilling fear. Right. So maybe in your mind and your heart, excuse me, that this isn't the place for you, but now you're afraid.
Oh, they get your physiological response. If you share your stories with them about when you were hurt or traumatized, they're going to use that against you at some point, or they could.
It's crazy.
Bonkers. But just be aware, though, of the power of your mind, because people want to manipulate it so much. You actually do have control.
Yeah.
You just got to keep reminding yourself.
Exactly.
There's a reason why they want to manipulate your mind, is because it's powerful. So just remember that you can break free of that chain if you can get out.
And and to kind of touch on this too, like toxic individuals can be found in all areas of life, not just spiritual, right? From the work, personal relationships,
online. That's why I was saying the influencers. Like you're face to face with someone on your screen. It feels very intimate. You look at their numbers, all of a sudden you see they're talking to thousands of people.
So how can we effectively deal with toxic people? Right, I guess the first thing that's crucial is to recognize
awareness
that it's toxic behavior.
If people in your life are telling you that they're concerned, that's one too.
Yeah. So, Toxic behavior can include, manipulation, constant negativity, criticism, gaslighting, or any action that they do to you, like you now feel drained after being around them. These individuals can often create drama or stress without taking responsibility for their actions at all. And they kind of leave you in this wake of WTF. Right? So what are some steps so once you recognize that there's a toxic person in your life, so now after the lessons I've learned in 2024, as soon as that intuition for me kicks in, I immediately say, you're not welcome here. I no hesitation anymore from me.
Cut to the chase.
I say what I mean. I mean what I say. I will never be passive aggressive about it. I will say, you are not welcomed here anymore. And I do not need to explain myself other than what I just said.
You're right.
Period.
Yeah. Bye.
This is a place for healing, for growth, and as a responsible business owner, it's my job to make sure that everyone that walks through this door feels safe.
That's how I felt about my community with this outside influence. I felt like not just me, but other members of our community, I needed to be the voice to say, no, you don't been listening to this woman for 8 years. You can listen to me now. You can still forgive this person.
Yeah.
Without having to give a part of your future away.
And not forgiving somebody,
that's personal.
That just causes turmoil within yourself.
Well, I think it's a personal choice. And to be guilted into doing it because look at your own sins, I don't think it was inappropriate. That was an appropriate time and place. We were a community that wasn't based in spirituality.
Well, but you can forgive someone for yourself,
well, yes,
for your own peace.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're actually forgiving what they did.
Yes.
You're just forgiving it so that you can be at peace within yourself.
But I think you have to come to that on your own.
Absolutely.
I don't think, it's one of those things that, I forgave the guy that assaulted me. I did. I had to because he was damaged and I knew that, and so was I. But once again, nobody convinced me to do that.
Right. And if you don't, you just are reliving it, and you can never move on to.
You're just mad.
To be happy, right? To feel love, to feel any of the good stuff, right? Because you're always replaying this bad stuff, whatever that is that happened. Not you personally, but just in general.
Yeah.
Like I had a terrible relationship with my mother, and I broke up with her.
Yeah.
And I did not speak with her for 19 years. 19 years went by. We had a passing in the family, and my mother approached me at the funeral, and I told her that that was not the time or place to do this reunion, and that we could talk at another time. And a couple weeks went by, and she reached out to me and friended me on Facebook, and I accepted. And I had forgave my mother, but had I not broken up with that toxic relationship, I never would have had the relationship I had with her after that, which was the relationship I had always wanted growing up. She has passed, but I had 6 great years with her, years that I probably wouldn't have had had I stayed in the toxic relationship. So that time away, and when she passed, I did struggle with that. Because I felt like, I wasted all this time. All this time I could have had with her, but it was not good.
Well, yeah. Quality is sometimes more important than quantity.
So that's kind of how I made peace with it, because I looked at it and I said, if I had never walked away from that, I wouldn't have had the wonderful 6 years that I had.
Well, this is a perfect example of what I was saying before with isolation. There's times where, yes, you need to separate yourself. But what I was getting at there was complete isolation, If you still had other friends and family, you weren't like in a cult.
Right.
That was your own volition. That wasn't somebody making you do it.
And when she came back into my life, we met, and, I had said to her, look, we're going to take this slow. I said, and if I feel like any of the old shit is coming back up, I'm cutting it off again. Yeah. And that's not a threat, because I did it for 19 years. Right. Yeah. I don't have a problem doing it again, but it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But I had to take that time, and I know 19 years sounds like a long time. She didn't know grandchildren.
Yeah.
And when we got back together, she asked if she could meet them, and I said, well, they're all adults now, so I will present it to them, and it's going to be their choice.
Right.
I'm not going to go to them and say, hey, you need to reconnect with your grandmother.
Yeah.
I let them choose that path, and they all chose to meet her.
That's great.
And it was great. So, but yeah.
Forgiveness. Maybe that's the new episode.
Forgiveness. We'll talk about that.
Forgiveness. Isn't that a song?
I'm sure it is. It's some
forgiveness.
Some genre.
I know. I always got to break out into song every episode.
Hey, you're a musician, right? That's what you do. I tend to break out the song too, but I am not a singer. So setting boundaries. Did we talk about that?
I think so, yeah.
The first step is to protect your energy.
Be aware.
Set boundaries.
Yeah.
Communicate clearly about what behaviors are acceptable.
I'm trying to think of a way you could test someone's intention with you. Like, I'm trying to think of what would be a good, I can't think of it right now, but like, to really see if they respect your boundaries to some extent. You don't want to be manipulative and play into stuff, but I'm wondering if there's some things you could do to be like, does this person really respect my interest? Like, I have some friends that would like reach out to me, and if I didn't respond right away, they'd get mad. And I'm like, yeah, we can't be friends, because like I'm not going to be able to respond to everybody all the time.
That's
so
the
like,
world of the internet now. Everyone expects instant. It's like, you know what? Sometimes I'm pooping.
Sometimes I'm not in the mood, right? Sometimes I don't want to talk.
Sometimes I'm taking a shower.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
And
sometimes I'm sleeping.
If you get somebody who's constantly making you feel guilty about said boundary, whatever it is, then that's a red flag for you.
Yeah. So remember, it's okay to say no. Prioritize your own well-being. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, but they're about creating a safe space for yourself.
Yes, and how you communicate that is important too.
Right.
You can't just expect people to know you're being. It's uncomfortable sometimes, like you were saying, you're not welcome here. Sometimes you just have to do that.
Right.
You just have to put that line in the sand.
I don't like saying that
Nobody
to people.
Does. But when you draw the line in the sand, this is what I'm talking about. There's that line that you draw. Are they going to try to shuffle over it? And that's when you know, okay, like this person probably is
you
not.
You will never guess what I'm saying to you. Because I say, you're not welcomed here. Like, I can't be any clearer than that.
Right.
And what you do with that is on you.
Yes.
So,
it was like when I had to get her, I don't know if I can't speak for you, but the restraining order, I kept telling that woman who was coming to my shop and harassing me. I looked at her, I said, I will follow through. Like, I'm not just using words for the sake of using them. I will go to court. I will take it in. Wouldn't you know it? I had to do it. And I didn't want to. I'm like, I don't want to waste. I looked at the judge. I said, I don't want to be here today wasting your time.
Right.
But this person over here just seems to think they can keep coming to my shop, even though I've asked them.
And you felt unsafe.
Yeah, I'm like, I got to put cameras up now. Like, do you get it? Like, I'm following through. Following through is a big one. That actually,
yes.
I don't know how much time we have, but following through, we got a little bit of time. Like, when you set that boundary, you have to do the uncomfortable thing of following through.
Right.
Because if you set the boundary and let them cross over, they're going to be like, oh, well, she's all bark, no bite.
Right.
But
it's just like kids. That's why my kids were like, you were the drill sergeant, Mom. It's like, because when I said, you can make a choice, just know your choices have consequences. And I was the parent that gave the consequences for the wrong choice. And I followed through.
And it's similar, you have to do something similar with spiritual communities.
Right. So the next thing you could do is, obviously limit your interaction with these toxic individuals. Whether it's reducing time spent with them or choosing not to engage in the conversations. So minimizing your exposure, which can help protect your mental health, which, if that wheel isn't running properly, nothing else in your life will. So always prioritize your mental health. Listen to your gut. And focus on positivity. Does that mean everything's rainbows and unicorns? No, of course not. That's unrealistic.
I always find that trying to be grateful for what you have when you're feeling the worst is the best way you can practice positive. Even though you can acknowledge and observe you're feeling like crap, look around and see what there is going on that isn't so crappy.
Yes.
Even if it's something as simple as having 2 little cute kittens to come home to. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm always like, at least my cats know I'm not a jerk.
Right.
They don't care. They don't care that I have road rage.
Exactly.
They don't care that I got snappy at the clerk and now I feel guilty.
They don't care if you have mascara running down your
I'm gonna
face
go home
or-
and snuggle with my cats because I'm a big piece of crap.
Right. So counteract the negativity by surrounding yourself with positive people, right? Engage with people who uplift and support you.
They say you are most like the 5 people you surround yourself. The 5 closest people you're surrounded with
Exactly.
influence you the most.
Which is why my circle is very, very small.
But I hang out with Lori from
Right.
Mystic Market.
That's right. And I hang out with Kate from Prayers of Nature.
Even though I have road rage.
And I remind you how to bring that in, don't I? Practice gratitude and focus on the things in your life that bring you joy and contentment.
Right.
Practice self-care.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Right. So invest in time taking care of yourself, whether it's through exercise, meditation, or hobbies that recharge your spirit. Self-care is essential for maintaining your energy levels and resilience. And of course, seek support. Don't hesitate to seek support from friends, family, or, professionals. Talking about your experiences can provide relief and a perspective that maybe you didn't have before. They can help you navigate difficult relationships. And obviously, if needed, therapy can offer tools to handle toxic dynamics. And I just want to mention that if you feel like you are in physical danger, never hesitate to call local authorities, and don't talk yourself into saying like, "Oh, I'm just being ridiculous." Like, don't play that game.
I'm just safe than sorry.
Yes, if you feel physically threatened, don't hesitate to call. Dealing with toxic people isn't easy, but implementing some of these strategies that we talked about today can help protect your energy and maintain your own peace of mind, I guess. You have the power to choose who influences your life and how much of your energy you devote to them. So, I hope that people found this podcast helpful.
Yeah, I was going to say some stones or gemstones you can utilize. And when I say that, I don't mean you get to throw them at people. But I know that reflective gemstones like mica or pyrite, anything that like reflects or deflects negative energy or toxic people. And like I was saying, anything like black tourmaline or black agate, keep you grounded and protected. Those are just like the subconscious tools that you could hold in your pocket. If you're going somewhere where you're like, I don't want to be, closed, but I also don't want to be vulnerable. I find those are ones that work for me.
Right.
So obviously everybody's got their own preferences. But
I mean, you can throw the crystals, but I'm
not bailing you out.
There are consequences to that.
I'm not bailing you out. Kate from Prison Nature said I could use it.
We in no way endorse violence.
Only if you need to protect yourself physically. I guess that's okay. If you need to defend yourself physically, then you can throw the rock.
And that's a good point too to bring up, because someone had said to me the other day, I'm afraid to use baneful magic. And I said, okay, so I'm not one to just
question your intention.
Be throwing around baneful magic. I said, but I asked her, so I responded with a question. I said, would you allow someone to physically hurt you?
Right.
And she replied, of course not. Right. I said, so why would you allow someone to energetically hurt you?
Right.
And she was like blown away.
I think the second you realize your intention, like literally your intention.
Yeah.
Even if you tell yourself you have good intentions, if you do or not.
Exactly.
And if you don't have good intentions, maybe don't use the baneful magic. If you know deep down, am I doing this for the right reasons? Right. Because when I've done I don't do binding spells often. Right. I think I've only done 3.
Right.
And they were all done with love, compassion, and karma. Mm-hmm. Not hate, vitriol, and hoping someone would die.
Yeah.
You know, it was more like, I hope they learn their lesson and they stay away from me. Peace be with you, namaste.
You know what? You know what a good binding spell is?
You've given me tips on some. I'm not going to share here, though.
So this one is really awesome. This one is really awesome.
Is it the rule of 3?
No. No, because I don't believe in that.
Oh, okay.
A good binding spell is if someone's like talking smack about you,
right?
You bind your name. So every time they speak your name, you get abundance.
Yeah, you like that.
So go ahead, talk about me, speak my name.
There was one that was like whatever curse you set up on me. Yes, I think I worked that into a binding, something similar.
Yeah.
Or like it will find you. I like the ones that are like, if you have something that needs to find you in order for you to progress and evolve, I hope it finds you times 3.
Yeah.
You know, or threefold, or like deliver that karma. You know,
that's a Wiccan tenet, and I'm not Wiccan, so
it could be on the border of bad intentions. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, if this person has something coming to them, maybe I could further them along.
You know, but again, like I don't go out and just do a spell to harm someone.
No, I don't.
But
I mostly do it to protect myself.
Exactly.
It's usually about protecting me.
Defensive.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. If you're someone wanted me to bind a presidential candidate. This was back in like 2015. She wanted to do a whole ritual on binding this specific presidential candidate, and all the girls in the room were with me. They were mixed of emotions. Yeah. I personally didn't want to do it. I was like, that's a little much for me. Like I don't. This is going beyond around
the patriarchy.
It was just beyond something that didn't feel real to me. I'm like, we don't know what we're messing with. Like, you think you have this perception of who this is and what you want to do. We may be messing with something here that we don't know anything about.
Well, and that's the thing too. You have to, you could be messing with something and unintentionally making it worse.
That's what I mean. Exactly. That's what I mean. I'm like, I'm going to work in my own realm. I'm going to work in my own communities. To me that was a little much, but everybody's different, so everybody's got their
and at the end of the day, I don't care how anyone practices.
Yes,
but if it doesn't feel right to me, I'm not going to be involved.
Bye. Right. Yeah, I was like, you do that in your own time. I'm just gonna not do that.
But again, like,
how about we pray for world peace? Let's start with that. Let's do that. I'd rather do that on like a holistic, earthly scale than targeting a presidential candidate.
Right.
But
because I think too, like, we don't really know what goes on behind the doors there.
That's what I mean. That's why
they could be manipulated to
it just But all the talk about intuition, that was like too powerful.
We don't
to
know
mess with.
We don't know the real things that are going on behind closed doors.
It's a spooky world out there. But your own deflection, your own protection, your own peace of mind, that I can get down.
Yeah. And again, if you're not going to allow someone to physically hurt you, don't allow them to spiritually or energetically hurt you. It's the same thing. It's just a different medium.
Well, in closing, I would like to say that this whole podcast, we have been sitting in Lori's anti-gravity chairs, which I haven't done before in this capacity, and it's delightful. So if you have time to just come sit, I highly recommend. How many of these chairs do you have?
8. I have 8.
I've seen, you could see if you go to her page, she's got pictures of them and people using them. As someone who has arthritis, it actually feels really nice.
It does.
It's like being in a hammock.
It is.
So
there's 0 gravity chairs, and they're freaking amazing.
I got a little head pad here. I got a little cup holder.
And I have 8 of them. It's first come, first serve during the workshops and the meditation classes, but people come early now to claim a chair. It's pretty hilarious.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, but they're nice. But this was a cool topic, and I'm glad we chose to talk about it, because I think we gave some good advice.
It's like a fringe thing too. A lot of people, I don't know, I feel like I'm tiptoeing around it because it's somewhat personal.
It is.
So you're like,
you and I have both had personal experiences with people that have manipulated us. So we're trying to
We've watched each other go.
Yeah. And we're trying to be careful not naming names.
We call each other tech. So listen to this, Lori. Am I crazy? Or, and you're like, hey, am I crazy? Like, what's good? Like,
and that's a good point. You need that person to be able to bounce those off, because sometimes Kate's like, you're freaking crazy, Lori. I don't know why you're seeing that. or yeah, you better run for the hills.
I was watching from the sidelines when you first opened. Let's just put it that way. I was like, uh-oh. Her kindness might be getting in the way. I'm just going to be on the sidelines and have her back, and kind of what I thought would happen.
I think I was...
you had a lot going on opening this.
Oh my God.
You were in a vulnerable state.
And my son was getting married.
Yes.
We were driving across country.
You were in a vulnerable state.
I hit some snags opening up.
People were plucking at your heartstrings, and I could see it from the outside.
Like, I didn't know I needed to register with the town as well as the state. So there were some things that, and I was leaving to
Your
go to
intuition
Oklahoma.
was there, but you had so many other things going on that you had to prioritize, that it was like, this is the last thing you want to do is be mean to somebody who might be actually, you appear to be helping you.
Right.
But they weren't.
Right.
They were not.
Right.
They were exploiting you. So
absolutely.
So I was here to be like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
It was good lessons to learn.
Yeah.
I needed to learn those lessons, and I'm not mad that I went through it because
it had a lot of comedy. Okay, the comedy that went with it was what made it palatable for me, because some of the stuff that was going on was so bizarre.
And what was sad too is I really liked this person.
Yeah.
I did. We had some great conversations, but then it went south fast.
It's a crazy town.
And I was afraid.
Yeah.
So when that point hit, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I want to end on a
good note.
On a good note.
These floaty chairs are great.
Floaty chairs are great. And don't forget about the Bizarre Bazaar event, October 26th.
Your workshop.
My workshop the same day. I think that's freaking pumpkin. No, that's not pumpkin.
The Pumpkin Fest is actually this
weekend, so you're not going to hear that, so whatever.
Yeah, the Haunting of Wilton and your spell jar, and then you have your birthday bash.
Yeah, my birthday bash, November 2nd. All the details are on the website, on both of our websites, for all the events that are going on. I know Kate and I are going to collaborate and do another event, either at her place or my place.
We'll do something.
We're going to do something. Our last podcast, we talked about doing an event on her property.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're probably not going to do that until the weather gets better. And we've got too much going on with the holidays.
Oh yeah, if we were to do something in the fall, we'd have to plan it ahead because of the holidays.
Absolutely.
But in the spring, keep your ears perked and your eyes peeled.
And because we had this revelation, we'll probably schedule something in the fall of 2025 at her place. Because we'll have the whole year to plan it and promote it and figure out what we want to do. Maybe get other people to come in and perform too. Maybe we can get Heather and Hannah down there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Together We Heal.
The Rise Up Center is right across from my shop, so I could collaborate with them.
Perfect.
On the same day, just open up the door and boom, there it is.
And I always want to call him Tyler. Maybe he would be.
Oh yeah.
I know you know
sound healer.
I know you know a bunch of people.
I know a bunch of hippies that do sound healing.
So and of course, if you want to chime in, feel free to comment below this video.
Share an experience.
We love to hear from our listeners.
Pop by the shop
because sometimes we feel like we're just talking to ourselves.
It's okay though,
because no one comments. So comment and let us know you're listening.
We want the interaction.
Yeah, and it just affirms that what we're talking about, people are listening and maybe resonating. And if you have a topic you want to hear about, contact either Kate and I through our
Facebook. We should do like
Facebook
a survey
pages.
or poll, see what people.
Yeah, but we love having guests. If you want to be a guest, reach out to either myself or to Kate through our Facebook page or our website. You can find us easily. Prayers of Nature, Mystic Market, NH. So with that being said, until next time.
Until next time.
Live, love, and magic. Bye.
Bye.